Okay, good morning, everyone. Everyone can get seated. Wonderful. All right, welcome. For those who don't know me, I'm Margaret McDonnell, the director of the United Nations Foundation's Nothing But Nets campaign. Thank you. Welcome to the 2017 Leadership Summit. We're thrilled to have each of you here in DC for what's going to be an inspiring and fun few days. We'll learn how we can be even greater leaders in our communities and how we can have even greater impact around the world. We'll build on our advocacy and communication skills to support the critical work of the United Nations and the fight against malaria and beyond. At this year's summit, we have over 110 people from 29 states, from California to Rhode Island to Wyoming, there we go, to South Carolina. Among you are medical doctors, infectious disease specialists, teenagers who have raised funds to help us fight malaria, to people who have experienced personally life as a refugee and have personal experience with malaria, an impressive group. You represent our best advocates and champions, and it is thanks to your efforts helping us raise funds, engage your members of Congress, and building awareness in your communities that Nothing But Nets is able to do its life-saving work. You truly are our lifeblood. So I want to take a moment to thank all of you, because none of this would be possible without you. Back up. I also want to take a moment to acknowledge the amazing Nothing But Nets team. So team, if you'd stand, so we know who you are. Yay! Okay. Special thanks to Sarah, Dan, and Tyler, who have put in countless hours, some blood, sweat, and tears, to making this summit as great as it will be. I also want to introduce our newest Deputy Director, Tisha Hyder. I actually don't see her right now. Maybe she's outside. But she joined our team last fall and has been a wonderful addition to the team, so hopefully everyone has the chance to meet her. Change slide. There we are. Over the next few days, I encourage everyone, whoa, mind of its own, okay. Over the next few days, I encourage everyone to engage your networks on social media and share what you're learning at the summit. So please follow us at the handles up on the screen and post using hashtag #NBNSummit and if room, hashtag #EndMalaria. Next slide. There we are, okay. We're thrilled to be hosting this year's summit event alongside our partners at Junior Chamber International, otherwise known as JCI USA. You can clap. For several years running, JCI has been our leading partner in grassroots advocacy, engaging their members of Congress to become champions in the fight against malaria. Since 2013, the JCs have held the Buzz Tour across America, holding more than 300 congressional meetings in district and on Capitol Hill, making hundreds of phone calls and sending thousands of letters to members of Congress, all with the goal of protecting kids and families from this deadly but preventable disease. Thanks so much to all the JCs for being here. I think there's about 35 of you, so thanks so much. We so much appreciate the partnership. I also want to make sure to welcome back returning champions of the campaign, many of whom are members of the Champions Council. This is our group of highly active volunteers who advocate, raise funds, and spread awareness in their communities. And finally, I want to formally welcome any new supporters in the audience who might be learning about our work for the first time. So over the next 3 days, make sure to take advantage of getting to know our dedicated staff, ask questions, and form friendships with the folks at your table. I'd also like to take a moment to thank the sponsors of our Leadership Summit. The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation is the largest contributing partner to Nothing But Nets, supporting our advocacy efforts and helping to make these events possible. Much thanks also to our friends at Sumitomo Chemical, who have partnered with Nothing But Nets since 2015 to help provide more than 1.7 million bed nets to help protect refugees and vulnerable families throughout Africa. Together, we've helped our UN partners get access to nets at lower cost, ensuring that every dollar donated to this campaign goes even further to help reach people who need it the most. So there are going to be parts of the summit where the challenges seem overwhelming and daunting. But I want to kick off the day reminding each of you that you are on a winning team. We are a winning team. This is the malaria map in 1900, just over a century ago. Red is where there's a malaria transmission, green where there's not. So back in 1900, you were okay if you lived basically in Greenland or Mongolia, Iceland as well. Some of you might be surprised to learn that malaria is actually the deadliest disease in human history. In fact, some research shows that half of all humans who ever lived died from malaria. I'm still trying to figure that one out, but half of all humans who ever lived have died from malaria. Between 1900 and 1950 alone, malaria killed 100 million people. From 1950 to 2000, the disease killed more than 1 million people every year. Now, let's fast forward to present day. Oh, there we go. Ah, this thing's very sensitive. Okay, so this is the map in 2011. The progress made against this disease in just 100 years is incredible. As you'll see in green, the US, Russia, Canada, Australia, and several countries in South America and Northern Africa no longer have malaria. And many countries are actually working towards elimination. Those are those in blue. But there are still, of course, hotspots, as you'll see, like India, Southeast Asia, parts of Central and South America, as well as much of Sub-Saharan Africa. As many of you know, this past fall, Nothing But Nets celebrated our 10th anniversary. So I wanted to do a little bit of a deeper dive on the progress over the last 10 years. Next slide. All right. So these are stats comparing just from 2006, when the campaign launched, to 2016. So as you'll see, in 2006, there were 247 million cases of malaria every year. Last year, were 212 million. In 2006, there were approximately 1 million people dying from malaria every year. In 2016, it was 429,000. By the way, you're not going to have to remember these, right? So they're in your talking points, and you don't have to memorize the stats. These are just to give you a taste of it. In 2006, there were 109 countries that were malaria endemic, and in 2016, it was down to 91. And when this campaign started in 2006, a child was dying from malaria every 30 seconds. Now, it's every 2 minutes. Amazing progress. So as you can see, there's been a lot of progress just over the last decade. You should all be really proud of the role that you played to make that happen. Through our supporters and partners, Nothing But Nets has raised over $60 million to help deliver 10 million bed nets to families in need, along with diagnostics, treatment, and other innovative tools. Yes, we actually do more than nets, despite our name. We have also successfully advocated to build strong bipartisan political support and funding for critical malaria programs, such as the President's Malaria Initiative and the Global Fund to fight AIDS, TB, and malaria. But of course, this progress was not made by Nothing But Nets alone. We've worked side by side our partners at the United Nations, specifically UNICEF and UNHCR, the refugee agency, the World Health Organization, the Pan American Health Organization, as well as US government-funded partners like the President's Malaria Initiative and the Global Fund and CDC and others. We've worked closely with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and faith-based and civil society partners like JCI, as well as United Methodist Church, the Religious Action Center for Reform Judaism, and private sector partners like Sumitomo, Cotopaxi, and Johnson & Johnson. Here's what we have achieved together to date. An estimated 6.8 million lives have been saved since 2000, primarily for children under 5 in sub-Saharan Africa. We've cut deaths from malaria by 69% among children under 5 in Africa. By 2015, about 53% of the population in Africa was sleeping under bed nets, whereas it was only 2% in 2000. Amazing progress. And the WHO estimates that bed nets accounted for about 68% of the reduction in malaria cases. So, now that we know where we are and how far we've come, what are our next goals and milestones? And what is our role as Nothing But Nets? And what can you do as champions? This incredible progress. water. There was no cue for that. All right, so this incredible progress has made it possible for the world to begin considering the possibility of eradicating malaria within our lifetimes. In 2015, the UN and the World Health Organization helped to set global goals called the Sustainable Development Goals for the next 15 years. Through this process, countries around the world decided on ambitious targets for 2030 to reduce malaria deaths by an additional 90% and eliminate malaria from 35 countries around the world. So where malaria is a specific target of Goal 3, the green one, good health and well-being, there's actually links with 16 of the 17 other SDGs, from education to hunger to clean water and sanitation. The only one where we couldn't find a link is life underwater, so that's a challenge to all of you. If you can figure out, then we'll have connections with all 17 of the Sustainable Development Goals. Next slide. Fickle thing. As reflected in the Aspiration to Action report, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation is leading the charge of the battle cry of eradication by 2040. It's ambitious, but achievable with new strategies, tools, and financing. So this is where we come in. Meeting these targets will require increased and continuous financial and political support. Your fundraising and advocacy is invaluable to ensure that poor, vulnerable kids are protected and to secure policy and commitments that will make these goals a reality. I'm excited that together we can be the generation to end malaria. So, what's next specifically? With the help of many in the room, we were able to achieve the Million Nets pledge at the end of 2016. And as that reflected, we'll actually continue to ensure and focus our fundraising and direct service efforts to protect the poorest and most vulnerable. So specifically, kids under 5, pregnant women, refugees, and displaced families. Kids like Amisa. If you haven't already met Amisa via our amazing award-winning virtual reality film, Under the Net, please make sure to check it out during lunch or the happy hour tonight. It's an amazing film telling the story of an amazing 11-year-old girl, Amisa, who lives in a Nyarugusu refugee camp in northwest Tanzania with her family. The film documents her daily life as they deal with many challenges, including malaria, and it highlights the really critical work done by our partner, UNHCR. So now that we've fulfilled the Million Nets pledge, what's next? So we recently announced a new initiative, the Nothing But Nets Pledge to Protect Vulnerable Families from Malaria, or as we call it, the Pledge to Protect. This was actually, I tried to introduce Tisha earlier, so Tisha Hyder, our Deputy Director, is here joining us. Hope everyone gets the chance to meet her, and this is one of Tisha's, she created this acrostic during a meeting. It's amazing. So this pledge reflects our ongoing commitment and comprehensive work to support the UN and global efforts to end malaria in this generation. So through the pledge, I know it's hard to see from here, the P represents procuring and distributing nets to protect vulnerable families. L, leverage the UN and other partners to help those most in need. E, engage our advocates and policymakers working to secure critical funding. D, deliver diagnostics, treatment, innovative tools, and education to health workers. G, grow our base of champions, partners, and donors. And E, end malaria for good. So we hope that this is a helpful way to speak about our comprehensive and life-saving work, and will hopefully be a useful tool and message that you can use to share to help others join our cause. Let's see. So along the path to eradication, oh, didn't work. Along the path to eradication are really important building blocks of country and regional elimination. And we're working on that. Specifically, we've started a new project focused on malaria elimination in the Americas, with the first focus on Hispaniola, which is the island representing Haiti and the Dominican Republic. Hundreds of thousands of people in the Americas region are at risk of malaria, and it's right in our backyard. Who knew that? Who didn't know that? That malaria was, yeah, right? So by working with PAHO, the CDC, the Malaria Zero Consortium, and other regional partners, we hope to help mobilize the necessary resources to eliminate malaria from Hispaniola by 2020, 3 years from now. We'll be working towards this with our advocacy and building partnerships. And this is a relatively new body of work for us, so please let us know if you have connections, ideas, partnerships for the island and the broader Americas region. In closing, some of you are in that picture. In closing, I just want to underscore that your participation in this leadership and your actions through this campaign are more important now than ever before. As you've probably seen in the news and you'll learn over the next few days, so much of the incredible progress that we've made so far is at risk. Whether it's threats to UN funding or proposed reductions to US foreign assistance, this is a crucially important moment for community leaders from across the United States, as in you, to take concrete actions and help us ensure that we can continue to save lives and protect families. So let's keep up the great work. Again, together we can be the generation to end malaria.